Subscribe for simple health tips that keep your digestion strong after 60. You might not realize it, but one small choice at the seafood counter could impact your brain, your heart, and even how long you live. For seniors, especially those over 60, the kind of fish you eat matters more than ever. Some fish strengthen your memory, reduce pain in your joints, and protect your heart from disease. But others can quietly build up toxins in your system, damaging your brain, your kidneys, and your nerves without any warning signs at all. A recent study from a major US medical journal found that seniors who eat certain fish high in mercury had a significantly higher risk of developing Alzheimer's and other degenerative brain conditions. That's not just theory. Blood tests from people 65 and older showed concerning levels of mercury linked to specific types of fish. And here's the scary part. Some of those fish are sold in every major grocery store. They're labeled as healthy, but for seniors, they can be dangerous. But not all fish are harmful. In fact, the right ones can do the exact opposite. The best types of fish can reduce inflammation, improve your thinking, strengthen your bones, and slow the signs of aging. The key is knowing which ones to choose and which ones to avoid. In this video, we're going to break it down clearly. You'll learn the top 4 fish you should be eating after 60 and the 4 you may want to avoid at all costs. One of the worst offenders might even be sitting in your freezer right now. Stick with me until the end because we're saving the most dangerous one for last, and it's one you've probably been told is healthy. Let's start with the fish you should eat more of, starting with one that's often forgotten, but incredibly powerful for seniors. It's not the flashiest fish on the shelf, but when it comes to safety, brain health, and easy digestion, it's hard to beat. That fish is rainbow trout. Rainbow trout is one of the safest and most beneficial fish you can eat, especially as you get older. It's rich in omega-3 fatty acids, which help reduce joint inflammation, lower blood pressure, and protect your brain from age-related decline. Unlike many other fish, rainbow trout is usually farmed in the US using clean water systems that drastically reduce the risk of mercury contamination. That's a huge win for seniors because the last thing your body needs is heavy metals quietly building up in your tissues. Trout is also a fantastic source of protein. Every bite helps maintain muscle strength, which naturally declines as we age. And it's gentle on digestion, something many seniors struggle with when eating heavier meats. Trout is easy to cook too. You can bake it with lemon and herbs, grill it lightly, or even pan-sear it in olive oil. It's versatile, affordable, and widely available. Next up on the list of fish you should eat more often is sardines. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Sardines don't exactly have the best reputation, but hear me out. Sardines are a powerhouse for seniors. They're packed with omega-3s, vitamin D, and calcium. That's right, calcium. Because you eat the whole fish, bones and all, sardines provide a natural, highly absorbable source of calcium, which is crucial for bone strength after 60. Even better, sardines are extremely low on the food chain. That means they're far less likely to contain mercury or other contaminants. They live short lives and don't eat other fish, so toxins don't accumulate the way they do in larger species. Plus, they come canned, which makes them a convenient option. Just make sure to choose sardines packed in water or olive oil, not soybean oil, which can contribute to inflammation. Next, let's talk about a fish that's incredibly popular, but often misunderstood. You've probably had it baked, grilled, or served as sushi. It's rich, fatty, and absolutely loaded with omega-3s. I'm talking about wild-caught salmon. Wild-caught salmon is one of the best choices you can make if you want to protect your heart, brain, and joints as you age. It's packed with DHA and EPA, two of the most powerful forms of omega-3 fatty acids. These help reduce inflammation, support memory, and lower the risk of heart attack or stroke. Seniors who eat wild salmon just twice a week often report clearer thinking, less joint stiffness, and more energy throughout the day. But here's the key. Wild caught matters. Not all salmon is created equal. Farmed salmon often contains higher levels of pollutants and may be fed unnatural diets, leading to higher omega-6 levels, which actually increase inflammation. Wild salmon, on the other hand, eats a natural diet and is free to swim in cold, clean waters. This gives it a better fat profile and makes it safer and more nutrient-dense overall. Look for sockeye, coho, or Alaskan wild salmon. These are usually labeled clearly and can be found frozen or fresh at most grocery stores. If you're on a budget, even canned wild salmon works. Just check the label. It's excellent in salads, stews, or baked with lemon and herbs. Now, let's cover the fourth fish you should be eating more of, mackerel. Not all types of mackerel are safe, but certain varieties, like Atlantic or Pacific mackerel, are low in mercury and high in omega-3s. Mackerel is oily, rich, and filling. Just 3 ounces provides over double the daily amount of omega-3s you need for brain and heart health. It also contains vitamin B12, which supports nerve function and energy levels, 2 things that tend to decline after 60. Mackerel is another fish that's often canned, making it an easy pantry staple. Just make sure to avoid king mackerel, which we'll talk about later, as it's on the danger list. Atlantic and Pacific mackerel are your safest bets. So now you know the 4 fish that help keep your joints flexible, your heart strong, and your brain sharp. Rainbow trout, sardines, wild-caught salmon, and low-mercury mackerel. But now, it's time to flip the script, because not all fish are friendly. Some are actually dangerous, especially for seniors. Let's go over the first one you may want to stop eating today. The first fish to avoid is tilefish. This may not be the most common fish in your kitchen, but it's still found in certain restaurants and frozen fish packages, especially in mixed seafood meals. Tilefish ranks near the very top for mercury content, particularly the variety caught in the Gulf of Mexico. And for seniors, mercury is no small issue. It accumulates in the brain and nervous system over time and can lead to symptoms like memory loss, fatigue, mood swings, and even tremors or balance issues. What makes mercury even trickier is that the symptoms build slowly. You might think you're just dealing with natural aging when, in reality, you're being affected by a toxic metal hiding in your food. The FDA even lists tilefish among the do not eat list for pregnant women and children. Seniors should take that warning seriously too. If it's not safe for a developing brain, it's not safe for a vulnerable aging brain either. The second fish to limit or avoid is shark. It's not something most people eat regularly, but it does show up in certain restaurants, seafood markets, and imported food products. Shark is a large, long-living predator fish. That means it sits at the top of the food chain and consumes lots of smaller fish throughout its life. With every meal it eats, mercury accumulates in its tissue. By the time it ends up on your plate, the levels can be dangerously high. Shark meat also tends to be high in purines, which can lead to increased uric acid in the body. That's a major trigger for gout, a painful form of arthritis that affects many seniors. If you already deal with joint pain, eating shark could make your symptoms worse without you realizing why. Now, let's talk about a fish that seems healthy, but often isn't, especially depending on how it's raised. That fish is farm-raised tilapia. On the surface, tilapia sounds like a good choice. It's cheap, easy to cook, and very mild in flavor. But there's a catch. Most farm-raised tilapia is grown in crowded, low-quality water conditions, often outside of the US where standards are weaker. These fish are typically fed grain-based diets and soy, which shifts their fat content in the wrong direction. Instead of being rich in omega-3s, they're often high in omega-6 fatty acids, which contribute to inflammation. That's the last thing you want if you're already battling arthritis, heart issues, or cognitive decline. Even more concerning, some farms use antibiotics and chemicals to keep the fish alive in unhealthy water conditions. Traces of these substances can remain in the meat by the time it reaches your plate. If you do choose to eat tilapia, make sure it's responsibly farmed. Look for labels like US farm-raised or certifications from groups like the Aquaculture Stewardship Council. But overall, if you're aiming to eat for joint and brain health, tilapia isn't your best option. Now for the last and perhaps most surprising fish on the avoid list, king mackerel. Yes, we just recommended mackerel earlier, but this is where details matter. King mackerel is a much larger species compared to Atlantic or Pacific mackerel, and because of its size and lifespan, it contains some of the highest mercury levels of any fish sold in the US. Many seniors get confused between the types. Atlantic mackerel is a smart, safe option, low in mercury, rich in omega-3s, and packed with energy-boosting B vitamins. But king mackerel? It's on the FDA's list of fish to avoid, and for good reason. If you've ever had grilled mackerel at a restaurant or ordered a fish steak without knowing the source, there's a chance it could have been king mackerel. The symptoms of mercury buildup aren't always obvious at first, but over time, they can affect your memory, coordination, speech, and even your heart rhythm. That's why it's so important to know what you're eating, and to ask questions when ordering fish at restaurants. So, to recap, The 4 fish to avoid or limit as you age are tilefish, shark, farm-raised tilapia, and king mackerel. They may seem harmless on the surface, but over time, they can quietly cause real damage, especially to sensitive organs like your brain and heart. When you're over 60, your body doesn't bounce back the way it used to. That means every choice you make, even at the seafood counter, carries a little more weight. But here's the good news. You don't need to cut out seafood altogether. In fact, the right fish can become one of your best defenses against aging. Rainbow trout, sardines, wild-caught salmon, and Atlantic mackerel are all rich in nutrients that fight inflammation, support brain health, and keep your joints moving freely. Eating these fish 2 or 3 times a week could help reduce your risk of memory decline, heart disease, and joint pain, naturally. Let's wrap up with a few quick tips to help you shop and eat smarter starting today. First, always read labels. If the package says farm-raised, dig a little deeper. Where was it raised? In the US, standards are stricter, and the water quality is usually better. But imported farm-raised fish, especially tilapia, can come from places with very poor regulations. If you don't know the source, it's better to choose something else. Second, when buying salmon, look for the words wild-caught or Alaskan on the label. Sockeye and coho are great choices. If it's labeled Atlantic salmon, it's probably farmed, and that means more fat, more pollutants, and less of the good stuff you're actually looking for. Third, canned fish is a smart option, but choose carefully. Canned sardines and canned wild salmon are both rich in omega-3s and very affordable. Just avoid versions packed in soybean or vegetable oil. Instead, go for those packed in water or olive oil. And check the sodium. Many canned fish are loaded with salt. Low-sodium versions are much better for your heart. Fourth, watch your portions. More fish doesn't always mean better. For seniors, 2 to 3 servings per week of low mercury, high omega-3 fish is ideal. That gives your body time to benefit from the nutrients without overloading it with any one thing. Fifth, don't overcook your fish. Cooking at high heat for too long can destroy many of the healthy fats you're trying to get. Instead, bake, grill, or steam gently. Add some olive oil, lemon juice, garlic, or herbs to boost flavor and healing power without adding processed sauces or sugar. Sixth, pair your fish with anti-inflammatory sides. Roasted vegetables, leafy greens, quinoa, or lentils can help balance your meal and support digestion. A healthy meal isn't just one ingredient. It's how everything on the plate works together. Finally, make it a habit. The benefits of eating smart fish choices build over time. The more consistent you are, the better you'll feel. Not just in your joints and brain, but throughout your entire body. Small changes in what you eat can make a big difference in how you move, think, and live. So, the next time you're standing at the seafood counter, you'll know exactly what to pick and what to walk away from. Because after 60, eating the right fish isn't just about nutrition. It's about protecting the most important parts of your health, your brain, your heart, and your independence.